Hey everybody, welcome to The Commit, episode 9. We're back in New York and we've got some great stuff for you this week. First up, Richard did a great interview with our friend Valerie from Swarm about design at hackathons. So you're going to learn about how to maximize your time and your design resources to come up with a great project.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that.
Super interview. We've also got our favorite staff picks as usual, so we hope you're really looking forward to that.
Cool, but before we get into the interview, you wanted to tell people about the Level Up hackathons, right?
Right, we've got 2 JavaScript hackathons that are running from now until the end of next week, September 17th. There's 2 JavaScript frameworks we want you to try using. The first one is tracking.js, which is this great computer vision augmented reality library that you can use in the browser. And the second is Electron, which is a cross-platform framework to build desktop apps in JavaScript. So GitHub's Atom Editor, Slack, both of those are powered by that.
Oh, cool. And when do people have until to enter their projects?
Until September 17th. So we're really looking forward to seeing what you build. I'm going to be submitting apps too, so we're putting it all on the line there.
Sounds cool. All right, let's go to the interview.
The best part about hosting a show is you get to decide who's on. And here's my friend Val. Hey.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
So you're a designer. We met at a hackathon, and I wanted to talk like design and hackathons. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, it's 2 of my favorite things.
Awesome. So now, I think we're going to probably agree on this point, right? But I think design is really important at hackathons and actually really helps it's what separates some of the best ideas and concepts at hackathons and helps them explain. So what do you think the role of design is at a hackathon?
That's a very interesting question. I'm going to disagree with you with your previous point, though, and I'm going to say that every single component is essential. Design, sure, product definition, development, and also business understanding, as well as marketing, really.
Yeah.
Every single one of those, I'd say, is equally as important.
Totally, yeah. I think they are all important, and I think a hackathon is a microcosm of forming a company and taking it to market, right? Your market. There may be a real market, but there's also a market of judges and investors and people that you're presenting to, and you're like on stage at Disrupt or something. Like you're trying to market a product, right? The same as we market DevPost and you market Swarm.
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
it's that there. But let's dive in though into that product and component thing. So if someone watching the commit wanted to be better at doing design at a hackathon, what's your best tips for being able to execute better on that?
Sure, I have some ideas on that. The first one is absolutely prepare beforehand, and what that means is create a UI kit or download a UI kit. There are so many of these free resources online where you have all of the assets pre-created for you, and you just get to structure them based on what the product actually needs.
Oh, cool. So just like a developer would set up their environment before the hackathon, a designer download that UI kit, make sure they're ready to go.
Absolutely, yeah. That's really big. The other component I'd say is what's really important when you're building apps or products in general is documentation, because developers can't read your mind, and they don't know what kind of interactions are intended. Interactions really make something feel smooth, especially at a hackathon.
Right, yeah, interesting.
So really important to have documentation. You're not going to have that at a hackathon. You don't have enough time. So one of the things you can do is you can pair design with your front-end developer.
Oh, really? That's super interesting. So pairing actually during the hackathon?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you don't find that slows you down, you're not have enough time to be headphones on, execute on your own? You think it's faster overall and better?
Absolutely, yeah, especially if you have a front-end component that you need to show off or make sure that it feels smooth to the judges and whatnot. I also have a trick with that in general.
Yeah.
So it really just depends on the type of hackathon and the type of product you're focusing on.
Yeah.
But one of my favorite things to do is to come up with a series of beautiful designs.
Okay.
And then use absolute positioning tags for the front end UI. Meaning you don't have to build any of the front end, you just have a series of clickable hotspots that you can get through. Because what matters at the hackathon you're on? It depends, right?
Yeah.
Is it the database? Is it the back end? Does it actually have to work? Usually only part of it needs to work and not always necessarily the front end.
Okay, so let's just be clear, you're not advocating to fake the functionality.
No, the functionality should be real. The point is you want to focus where it's actually important.
Okay, so kind of don't overinvest time building out the whole front end if you just
absolutely.
need these functions to build.
Yeah, I mean, you can use kits, like you can use Bootstrap or Foundation or any of that, but that still takes time and it's not necessarily going to give you any reward. But again, it really depends on the product as
Right.
well as the type of hackathon you're at.
That's really cool. Those are super interesting tips. So let's just kind of refresh on those. So like be prepared, like have that UI kit ready.
Yeah.
So I think that's important, right? And then pair and document, right? So
Absolutely, that helps a lot. The other thing I think that's important is define your product beforehand. Product definition is far more essential than any of the code that you're going to come up with or any of the visual design that you're going to create. You want to make sure that your use cases and features are really tight for the audience that you're approaching. And an aspect of that is also the business model. People tend to forget that.
right.
And
Yeah,
that's
and that's
equally as
important at some hackathons, right? So I think what's really interesting is you take a lot of these skills, and I think the viewers probably will have implied this, but you also apply this in your work at Swarm, right? So
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us a little about Swarm. I think you guys are kind of unique, right, in what you do?
Well, what's fun is that we all met at a hackathon, actually.
That's so cool. Good things happen at hackathons.
Yeah, and it was really great in the sense that at a hackathon, you get to experience people, you get to know who's good at what, who's going to flake out, who's actually going to be there, who's going to spend the all-nighter.
Right.
Right?
Who's willing to dig deep and get it across the line?
Yeah, exactly. And who you can work with and who can compromise. Because when you're building product, compromise is actually very important. We all have a million opinions, and we have to make sure that we execute at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's really true, right? Like it is about, you have to get something made, so the ability to like come together and find a common understanding.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting what you say about working together, because I find that nowadays a lot of companies are using hackathons, if not directly for like a recruiting purpose, then definitely to get a sense of like how people work and what they're about. It's a great place to see, right, how people build. So you all met at a hackathon, and now you kind of work together, and hackathons like part of your ethos. And what kind of
Absolutely.
work do you do at Swarm?
Sure. We focus on mobile apps and emerging technology. So we recently created the Apple TV app for CBS Sports several months ago, and it was like the first iteration of that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
that
it was
must have been
really
really
fun.
interesting. Like, not everybody gets to build an Apple TV app until yesterday, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but that's exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. So our developers are super into it. They're very interested in learning new technology. We get to, we're in a very lucky spot where companies come to us specifically to build on a new technology and a new platform. And our team is very focused on learning new things.
Cool.
Literally one of our iOS developers, he came on board as a designer, and he's just like, hey, I want to learn iOS. So we're like, okay, now
Go get
that's
it.
your role. Absolutely.
That's
and now
cool.
he's really
and I
great.
think like some of your projects are up on DevPost as well. So
Yeah,
if people are
absolutely.
interested in like seeing the kind of things Swarm builds, check them out on DevPost. We'll put some links in the show notes for you. And you guys are hiring as well, presumably.
We're always hiring, yep.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming by and being on the commit. Let's go back to Neil.
That was awesome, Richard. Thanks so much for doing that interview, and thanks so much to Valerie for coming on the show.
Totally. Let's do staff picks. So Neil, what's your staff pick?
This week I picked Pocket Lab, which was created by Antonio Marino and his team at PenApps. This is actually a health hack, a little different than what we normally talk about. So what Antonio and his team did is they created a way to use your smartphone to run blood analyses, stuff that would cost a lot more money and take a lot more time in a lab, but using the camera on your smartphone and some low-tech tools, just like spinning a blood sample in the air, kind of like on a string, and then using that to centrifuge a blood sample and measure, the level of plasma versus the level of red blood cells.
That's really cool. And it's real, it works?
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge, I got to see it. It looks like it works, and there's some pretty sound science behind it. So whether you're, checking for sickle cell anemia or using a microscope attachment on your phone to look at a blood slide, there's some really cool stuff you can do with it, and I hope they sort of keep it going, because that could be a really great tool for
That's
anyone
really
trying
high
to-
impact hacking. I love it.
Yeah.
Really cool. Well, I actually went for a staff pick from the humor track at PenApps. Some really fun projects. You should definitely check them out on the site. But I don't really know how to pronounce this, so I'm just going to call it Home Row. And it's from Matt, Serdi, Daniel, and Ben. And what they did is they made you able to use the keyboard as the trackpad. So really fun, and you can actually see in this video, if you look closely, they're using the keyboard there to like scroll through dev posts by running across the keys.
Yeah,
so
just sliding up and down and getting your mouse to move around that way.
yeah, really cool project. Check it out. A lot of fun and I enjoyed it. And yeah, that's about all we've got time for this week on the commit, right?
Yep. We'll be at MHacks though, so come see us, come show us what you're working on. We might even have a t-shirt for you.
Awesome. Happy hacking.
Happy hacking.